I'm Reverend Israel Buffardi. I'm the minister of this congregation, and my pronouns are he and him.
And good morning to all of you. So some of us may be really used to gathering together on Zoom by this point, and I have a favorite tradition for that, which is that we share a wave, which was shared with us by a member. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's share a wave with each other. Wave way up high, way down low. And actually, let's just take a moment to greet one another. If you could just turn to somebody, maybe especially somebody that you didn't come with, and just greet them. So it is our pleasure. Oh my goodness, so many greetings.
Okay, stop being friendly.
All right. It is our pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this progressive spiritual community, where we come together in wind and rain and sun and shine to nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. Here at UUCL, as we like to refer to ourselves, love is our only doctrine, and service and justice are our most sacred prayers. So we pray by striving to live lives in words and deeds that affirm that Black lives matter. And our doctrine of love has moved us for decades to affirm that love is divine, and love is what makes a family. So no matter who you are, no matter where you are from, no matter who you love, or how you experience and express gender in your body, you are welcome here. You are welcome to journey and grow together as we explore and practice what it means to be alive in this beautiful, complex, troubled world, to live lives filled with love. We gather in this community because we need each other. We know that each one of us carries a piece of truth, and that we are better together when we share those truths with one another. And so we come here, people of many different ages and stages of life, people of varying experiences and identities and backgrounds, to share our truths with each other. And in the process, we weave a beautiful tapestry of spiritual community. And I want to especially warmly welcome anyone who is new here, whether that means that you're entering this religious community for the very first time, you've come a couple times, or if you're new to the in-person reality and you've seen each other on Zoom. Welcome to the world of 3 dimensions. We are so glad that you are taking this wonderful step of checking out this community. We know that entering into a spiritual community as a newcomer can be a little intimidating, so we hope that you find ways to connect after the service. We'll be sticking around for chatting and for activities. And if you'd like to find out more about what goes on here, please don't hesitate to sign up for our love letter, our newsletter on our website. And to all, we hope that you will stay and greet someone that you haven't met before after the service. And we are going to share an Easter egg and afikoman hunt as well. So please stick around for that, and there will be something for the grown-ups, not only the kids. And to that end, for any children here, a warm welcome to you. We have a table of salt dough Easter eggs that we have, or spring eggs if you'd like, that I've made. They're in a basket, and you can pick up pieces of the dough. The eggs are hard, but you can pick up pieces of the dough and work with that egg to make a beautiful egg during the worship service. And if you'd like, you can write a word of kindness on it. And we are actually going to be hiding those eggs for the grown-ups later in the service. So go ahead and work on that throughout the service. And I now invite us to enter into sacred space as Reverend Israel and I share chalice lighting, which is the beloved symbol of our Unitarian Universalist movement.
As Lenore lights our chalice, I invite you to take a moment to ground yourself and center yourself in this moment on this beautiful, cold, there I said it, day. Let's get it out. Who's cold? Okay. To ground yourself on this beautiful day that is given to us as a gift unlike any other. To turn your attention and to arrive in this space, to turn your attention to what matters most. That's why we gather, to turn our attention to our values, to each other, into the world that we wish to create for each other. We are here in this time as Christians celebrate Easter, which asks those who celebrate to reflect on life, death, rebirth, and transformation, and ultimately the mystery of life that carries all of us through. As Jews celebrate Passover, the festival of liberation and moving towards a more just and promised world. And as Muslims celebrate Ramadan and develop a close and special relationship with their understanding of God and the divine. We ready ourselves this morning to prepare ourselves to reflect on the cycles of the earth as well. The cycles of the earth in the seasons that are ever flowing and bring us through. In honor of Passover this morning, our opening words come from Rabbi Rachel Barnblatt. And it starts with a quote from the book of Exodus. It says, "So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks upon their shoulders." And she says, "You will need to travel light. Take only what you can carry: a book, a poem, a dented tin cup. Your child strapped to your chest, clutching your necklace in one hot, possessive fist." So the dough isn't ready. So you, my friends, are not ready. You haven't said goodbye to the places where you hid as a child, to the friends who aren't interested in joining you on the journey, to the graves of loved ones you've tended. But if you wait until you are fully ready, you may never take the leap at all. And infinity is calling you out from this birth canal and into the future's wide expanse. Learn, my friends, to improvise flat cakes without yeast. Learn to read new alphabets. Wear this world, creation itself, like a cloak, and stride forth with confidence. You won't know where you're going. I can promise you that. But you have the words of our sages, the songs of our mothers, the inspiration wrapped in your kneading bowl. Trust that what you can carry will sustain you, and take the first step out the door.
Bring we leaf and flower and spray. Hallelujah. To adorn this happy day. Hallelujah. Once again the word comes true. Hallelujah. All the earth shall be made new. Hallelujah. Now the dark cold days are o'er. Hallelujah. Spring and gladness are before. Hallelujah. Change then mourning into praise. Hallelujah. And for dirges anthems raise. Hallelujah. How our spirits soar and sing. Hallelujah. How our hearts leap with the spring. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
There is much beauty in this world to celebrate and to say Alleluia about. But there is also much pain in this world. And there is so much more, even so, complexity in this world that we are all struggling to make sense of. That is what it means to be human on this day and all days. So here in this time of the celebration of rebirth, of renewal, of liberation, of promised lands, of closeness to the divine, we are here in our world with all of its suffering and pain as well. We wake up to the news of another murdered black man shot in the back, of war in Ukraine, of a mass shooting in New York City, of approaching the grim milestone of 1 million people dead from the coronavirus. The lack of universal health care and infrastructure in this country, of the lack of communal care, of a culture that views some people as disposable. And on top of that, all that you might have going on in your personal lives. Aches and pains and heartache, disappointment, loss, grief, sorrow. And this morning we ask you to celebrate life and rebirth and liberation and renewal. And we are gathered here outside to remind ourselves that the earth cannot be stopped in its changing seasons. That the leaves that dried back and died turned into the compost that fueled the beautiful blossoms on the trees that you see now. That such is the world, such are the cycles of life, reminding us that death and life, pain and joy are equally a part of what it means to be a human, that they cannot be separated from one another. That is the true complex truth of life, my friends. That new life is always amongst us. And that we must realize that we are always being called to both savor the beauty and transform and save the world from itself and from ourselves. That we must awaken to all of these things that exist alongside each other. That we must not be afraid to leap forth and imagine and transform the world, to create the world that we know deep in our hearts is possible. We don't have much time, any of us, my friends, to make it count. Yet we can still take time to savor all of this beauty. I think that experiences of beauty in abundance can sometimes also lead to realizing sudden feelings of grief and loss. Maybe as you are coming out of this pandemic time, you've had some moments like this, of sharing a meal with someone for the first time in person, of going out to eat or seeing strangers smile at you without a mask on for the first time. And all of the sudden grief and missed opportunities arise in your mind. All of the lost time. And yet at the same moment, a sudden gratitude for life itself, for having a new day to venture out, of life calling to. Of life calling to not just to exist on this planet, but to live, so that you may create and leap forth. With all that you carry and all that we carry collectively, I invite you to join me in the spirit of meditation, contemplation, what some know as prayer and others know simply as being present to life. the air on your face. Feel the unexpected joys that come to us. And although life may sometimes be hard, it can sometimes be beautiful too. Although your heart may be hardened like the story of Pharaoh in the Exodus story. Although you may feel like life and love itself is buried deep within a tomb. I invite us to awaken to the possibilities of this day. Let your breath be your anchor. Flowing in and out of you. Let your heartbeat be your anchor. Circulating life and warmth of life reenacting itself, pushing its way through your veins, through your body with each moment. Of passion coursing through your body, your veins. Of life flowing through you. We pause this morning to remember us that life calls us always to make meaning and create beauty in the face of destruction, injustice, and death. Reminding us that when vision and our hope for a better world is mocked, discouraged, when life brings us unexpected, when we feel like we are held back or pushed up or blown away, when we feel like we are wandering in the desert, may we gather in defiance of the pain and injustice. May we find our strength and humor together in community to roll back the heavy stone that is in front of our tomb, to part the waters of a mighty sea, to make our way towards beauty and liberation and call forth love once again from out the tomb of indifference.
Spirit of life, come unto me. See my heart, all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Bruise hold me close, wind set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Good job.
High in the far-off mountains, a little stream flowed down the mountainside. Sometimes it leapt and bubbled. Sometimes it drifted lazily. Can you imagine a stream that you know for this story? It was never stopped by anything that got in its way. Water knows a way to flow. Until one day, the stream reached the edge of a vast desert. The stream thought, nothing has stopped me before. I will get past this too. So the stream flung itself at the desert, but each time its waters got swallowed up by the hot sand. The stream was still determined to find a way. Well, the desert sand told the stream, the winds cross the desert, and so can the stream. The stream said, I know I need to cross this desert, but every time I try, the sand swallows me up. No matter how hard I try, I just can't go any farther. The desert said, "You won't be able to cross this desert the same way you flowed down the mountainside. You can't hurl yourself at the desert. You won't ever cross the sand that way. You will disappear. You must trust the wind to absorb you and carry you across the desert. You must let yourself be carried." The stream didn't like this idea at all. The stream had its own nature and identity. It did not want to be absorbed into the wind and carried. It was afraid. The desert sand wanted to make the stream feel less afraid. So the desert said, "You can trust the wind. If you let yourself be absorbed by the wind, it will carry you across the desert and let you fall again on the other side to be a stream again." The stream still wasn't sure, wasn't convinced. The stream was worried that it wouldn't be the same stream it was now. The desert understood this dilemma, but the desert also understood the mystery. You won't be the same stream you are now, even if you keep flinging yourself into the sand. But let the wind carry you across the desert, and the real heart of you will be there on the other side. The essence of everything you truly are will flow in a new course. You will be a river that you can't even imagine. Now, the stream thought about this for a long time. Something deep within it had a memory of a wind that could be trusted, and a horizon that was always out of reach, but was always a new beginning. So the stream took a deep breath, and then it let go, giving itself to the power of the wind. The wind raised up the stream as a mist and carried it in its strong and loving arms beyond the horizon, high above the desert sand. Then the wind let the stream fall again softly on the top of a new mountain. And the stream began to understand who it really was and what it meant to be a stream. I wonder what the most powerful part of that story was for you. I wonder if the stream felt any sadness on the other side. I wonder what the mountain thought. Or the desert. Or the wind. I wonder where you are in this story.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Oh yeah, yeah.
Just a reminder that any children of any age who want something to do with their hands, there are some reminder about the eggs on the table over there, where Lenore will point it out to you. This is a quote from John O'Donohue from The Beauty, the Invisible Experience. He said, "We live between the act of awakening and the act of surrender. Each morning we awaken to the light and the invitation to a new day in the world of time. Each night we surrender to the dark, to be taken to play in the world of dreams where there is no more. At birth, we are awakened and emerged to become visible in the world. At death, we surrender again to the dark to become invisible. Awakening and surrender, they frame each day and each life. Between them, the journey where anything can happen, the beauty and the frailty." There is an old criticism of Unitarian Universalism that says that it is a Easter faith without Good Friday. And then I've also heard it said that it is a Good Friday faith without Easter, meaning sort of that Unitarian Universalists, at least historically speaking, have been relentlessly sort of positive about human progress and about the ability to overcome and the ability of liberalism as a concept of humans always improving, and then that there are some who also, on the flip side, believe that humans are just totally unable to be redeemed in any sense of the word. I would hold for us that on a day like today, to celebrate these ideas of rebirth and also liberation, we must acknowledge that the joy of Easter holds all of the suffering at the same time of death and anxiety and fear of Good Friday, as well as the anticipation of Holy Saturday, all in one holiday. And that the freedom of Passover holds all of the pain and the suffering and the death of the firstborn of the Egyptians. It also holds the uncertainty of wandering in the desert for years, the years of waiting and wondering. That you cannot have one without the other. That we do not simply move from one to the other, that it is an ongoing process that we are all engaged in. We often speak of awakening or new beginnings or rebirth in metaphor and language, and we talk about it as a new day dawning or the sun rising, or perhaps the earth coming to life. And we think of this in terms of dichotomies of death and life and sunset and sunrise. But in the Jewish calendar, something that I find really beautiful is that a day begins not in the morning, but at sunset. That the act of creation requires that the sun must first set and go down. That there must be a period of darkness, a period of fallowness that must ensue to make way for the sun to rise in the morning and life to continue on. In that way, those two things are not separated from one another, but embraced as part of a whole, as part of a cycle. And of course, science tells us that the sun never stays still in the sky, or rather the earth never stays still moving around the sun. that it is all continuous, that the river that is flowing is ever flowing and evaporating and condensing and turning to rain and flowing again, perhaps not even in the same spot. That this is always the story. Our story of life and death, no matter how hard or how joyful it may ever seem. Now, birth and renewal also, I think, are not easy. Even in this time of year, we have warm days and then we have cold days, and we go back and forth. Birth and renewal require, too, I think, a leap of faith, you might say, even. That sometimes we don't want to take. Sometimes we might prefer to remain comfortable. The Hebrews in the story of Exodus, who were in Egypt at the beginning, in the narrow place of Egypt, didn't necessarily want to leave. They had to be kind of convinced to leave. Jesus in the story, before Good Friday, wasn't necessarily up for the job. He had to kind of meditate on it a little bit before he agreed to it. He struggled with the idea. It's sometimes easy to focus on the things that we can lose by taking a leap of faith. And it can be difficult, I think, to imagine what beauty can be possible from leaping forth. And that's just the time before the leap. If you can imagine yourself in the story as one of the Hebrews who left Egypt, and you go through this arduous process of getting out, and there's much to do about it, and you flee through the desert, and suddenly there's a sea in front of you and it has to open up, and there's an army chasing behind you, and finally it closes up and you're on the other side, supposedly free. But there's so much yet that still lies before you. And it is a very dangerous place to be there, wandering in the middle of a desert without food and water. And in the story, they complained incessantly as they wandered through the desert too. They weren't just happy when they got to the other side of the sea. They complained incessantly, and they wondered if they should go back. And they wondered if they were better off. And they rebelled. Maybe you've heard of the story of the golden calf. And they reminisced about going back to Egypt. It's like this. Think about it like this. If you've ever broken up with an ex, and you knew that they were not good for you, and you knew that they held you back from becoming the better person you could be, or becoming your best self. And yet on occasional nights after you sat alone, maybe having a glass of wine or something like that, or being tired and of being alone, you picked up your phone and you thought about texting them or calling them. And you wondered, maybe if you should go back, instead of taking the time to get to know yourself and get to know what you must become. The path of awakening, says Albert Schweitzer, is not about becoming who you are, it is rather about unbecoming who you are not. Death and life are both sides of the same coin, unbecoming and becoming. Destruction and creation are all the same thing in many ways. And that is one of the hardest truths of moving forward. In the story of Easter, Jesus had to submit himself to death, and a very difficult death. In the story of the Exodus, the Hebrews had to enter into a dangerous, unknown desert, with just a promise. These stories might be myths, but a myth reveals some deep, hidden human truths, I think, even if it is a myth. That stagnation is not an option in life. And even if the option of leaping is equally as terrifying, it is not about the perfection of the process either. That we must trust in the messiness of difficult breakups, in the messiness of rebirth, of coming alive in a challenging world, of renewing ourselves in an imperfect world. We remember in the story too that when Jesus rose, he still had his wounds on his hands, on his wrists, and he was mistaken for a gardener in the beginning when he was first seen, presumably because he was very dirty. He wasn't new and white and shining like you often see in pictures, but he was messy. So we must, my friends, I submit to you, trust in the messiness of the process of rebirth and renewal, of wandering out into our deserts of uncertainty, even if our feet will become calloused and hot from the sand, so that we may know that we are living, not just existing, that we are living and becoming our fullest, most possible selves. So how do we ready ourselves for this process of rebirth and renewal? Joseph Campbell said, "People say that what we're all seeking is meaning in life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we are seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on this plane, in this life, will have resonance with our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually can feel what it means to be alive." So what are we waiting for? It's not just you waking up to your purpose, but your aliveness. It's you waking up to the fact that you are the universe experiencing itself. It's all of us realizing that we must become what we must become by being an active participant in this ever-flowing, ever-changing act of creation. To let us know that we are alive and being renewed miraculously in every moment. And that this understanding of impermanence gives to life its freshness and its surprises. That our memories of yesterday and our expectations of tomorrow make now a cherished, precious, eternal moment.
I have to get up on my toes here. Hi, I'm Leslie Laird. I am a representative of the Board of Trustees today. It's okay, because he's gone. Oh, microphones make me nervous. I am here to welcome you all and to tell you that this is the time for our offering, which will be gratefully received. I have placed some bowls here on the end of the table. I can pass them down for your offering, or you can put something in if you care to at the end of the service or before you leave. So thank you very much.
There are two ways to see the world as it is and the way it should be. Some people say that's just not my problem. Some people do what must be done. They see the hole in the fabric that must be sewn. They see the way blockaded and they roll back the stone. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Some people do what must be done. They do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Technology. I see the toll is taken, tears of the shed, see the journey started and the ripples spread. Some people say that's just not my problem. Some people do what must be done. They see the hole in the fabric that must be sewn. They see the way blockaded and they roll back the stone. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Some people do what must be done. They do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Some people do what must be done. They do what must be done. The day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. It's the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done.
My friends, remember this morning that you are, all of you, the universe becoming itself, becoming conscious of itself. That you are, all of you, stardust. The movement and the evolution and the change and the growth of stardust. And that is your destiny. So go out and sparkle and be beautiful, amazing, eternal stardust. And I have a brief announcement. Lenore, did you have anything you wanted to mention? Okay. I have one brief announcement, which is that we had been organizing to support the resettlement of a refugee family here, and any of you who have signed up to be involved in that, we actually do now have a family who's going to be arriving in a few weeks. And so anyone who wants to be a part of that, it's honestly pretty simple. A lot of it is presence and showing up and being there. But if you want to be involved in that, you do need to do some background clearance stuff that needs to at least be initiated before they arrive. So I don't see Amos here today, but we have someone who's helping to organize it. His name is Amos Stoltzfus. I never know if I say that name correctly. And if you want to be involved in that, email me or email him if you don't. Email me if you don't have his email. So. No.
All right. I think that some of you have been waiting very patiently for our Easter egg and Afikomenheint. And so I'll give a little introduction to that. We have eggs that are hidden throughout this area, and a couple of pieces of matzah wrapped in cloth. And I wonder if you'd be willing to give a little theological introduction.
Matzah, in brief, matzah is the unleavened bread used in a Seder. It symbolizes many things, but it stands for having not had time to let the bread rise before making the leap of faith out into the desert. And it sometimes is called the bread of the oppressed. And it also, in the Seder, at one point towards the beginning, you're supposed to break off a piece of the matzah and hide it away. There's lots of different symbolisms for that. But some that I think are most beautiful and most profound are that we share the abundance that we have. We put some aside for those who need it. And also that brokenness, and I'm dropping it all on the floor, sorry. That brokenness is a part of life. That we are all broken, that we all live through our brokenness, and that we are all wounded healers in this life. And it's also a fun activity for children at a Seder meal too. Often the Seder cannot end until the children have found the afikomen. So
thank you.
There's your. So we're doing this as to go along with our Easter egg hunt.
So we know that many of you are celebrating both holidays or one or the other, so we wanted to do something fun. So we've got, we also have pieces of chocolate matzah that Michelle is arranging there for after the hunt for folks to enjoy. So I invite now, if you've made a kindness egg, I invite you to take it and hide it somewhere. Well, not yet, but you're going to hide it somewhere in this pavilion. Your kindness egg with the Play-Doh. You're going to hide it somewhere in this pavilion, and then the grown-ups who are here will have the chance to hunt for them, and will be able to take one home if you find a kindness egg that you take home. And in the meantime, we've got eggs that are hidden so the boundaries of this are from the that big tall white tree over there. All the way over to that really nice big tree right over there, right behind the bench. So that's the boundaries of this. And then from the playground on down to the border of the river, there will be no eggs hidden in like really tall vegetation with the stinging nettles. Don't go into there. There are no eggs in there. There are no eggs in the river. We trust you to be safe. After you've found 5, you can come back and trade in those whole plastic eggs, put them back together again, and trade in those 5 plastic eggs for a bigger prize. So there are little ones hidden in the eggs, and then when you find 5, come on back and trade them in for your prize, and then you can go out and hunt some more if you'd like. So if you brought a basket, wonderful, and if you didn't, we've got some extras you can borrow. So let's do the kindness eggs now. Take a minute to hide the kindness eggs right now, and then meet me over here if you're going to participate in the other Easter egg hunt, okay, or in the afikomen hunt. All right, thank you.
Is that it? Reverend Israel?